The true obsession. How extreme can Simon's behavior be? Every day, his schedule must be precise to the second. He must get up at exactly 7 a.m. When the time comes, he must go to the bathroom. Even if he doesn't feel the urge or if someone is in the bathroom, Simon will force his way in regardless. The amount of shampoo used must be a full teaspoon. His weight must be maintained at exactly 80 kilograms. Every day, he must measure his height of 192 centimeters. The color matching of his clothes must always be red and blue. Every time he turns on the light, he must press the switch 3 times in a row. Everyone's utensils must be placed in fixed positions. Moreover, the food he eats must be round. If it's not round, he will immediately change it to a round shape. Conversely, Simon hates triangles the most, because he believes they are the origin of all chaos. A typical example is the love triangle among Simon's 3 colleagues. The reason Simon is so picky is because he has Asperger's syndrome, commonly known as autism, without intellectual impairment. He has social difficulties, narrow interests, and is accustomed to a monotonous life. Simon hates being touched by others. If someone accidentally touches Simon, he will slap them for no reason or ruthlessly push them into the river. Simon finds it difficult to accurately recognize others' emotions, so he can only use emojis to distinguish people's moods. When Simon becomes unhappy, he will hide alone in an iron barrel. That is his created world, a spaceship operating according to strict rules. As long as he hides inside, he can block out any danger, and everything will run according to predetermined rules. Even if the world ends, Simon will not come out. His mother's screams cannot make him leave, nor can his father's money bribes. But only his brother Sam is an exception. Sam and Simon are almost opposites. He has a good personality and is especially patient with Simon. Simon often drifts into his fantasy world, while Sam is his connection to the real world. Sam is also the only person who can pull Simon back from his fantasies into reality. However, this time even Sam is powerless. It turns out that Sam is moving out to live with his girlfriend Frida, and they are currently busy renovating. For Simon, this is undoubtedly a heavy blow. Because from childhood to adulthood, Simon has only been able to live with Sam. Faced with this deadlock, to avoid worrying his parents, Sam took Simon along with the iron barrel to his new place. However, not long after Sam arrived home, his unaware girlfriend Frida accidentally lifted the lid of the iron barrel. This instantly made Simon act like a beast sensing his territory being invaded. Seeing this, Sam immediately went forward to comfort Simon and gently and patiently explained that Frida was not an enemy. On the contrary, if Simon wants to live with him, he must accept Frida at the same time, because Sam needs Frida, just as Simon needs Sam. The 3 of them are an integrated whole. Removing any one of them would cause imbalance. Unexpectedly, this seemingly obscure metaphor actually gradually calmed Simon's emotions. In fact, although Simon has mild autism, he has an outstanding IQ, especially showing extraordinary talent in physics. As long as he can communicate in a way that Simon can understand, he can quickly grasp the logic behind it. And Sam is the one who understands him best and can read his inner loneliness. What Simon worries about most is imbalance, so he is also willing to do his best to maintain balance. Thus, the 3 began living together. Simon's life motto is to adhere to rules, so everything at home must follow his arrangements. 7 days a week, each meal must be strictly executed according to the preset schedule. If on a day when cornmeal should be eaten, pizza is arranged instead, or on a day when pizza should be enjoyed, sausage noodles are eaten, Simon will lose his temper and may even flip the dining table on the spot. Additionally, the division of labor before and after meals is very clear. Sam is responsible for cooking, Simon for plating, and Frida for cleaning afterward. In Simon's view, such arrangements achieve an almost perfect balance. However, Frida is almost pushed to the brink of collapse because Simon's incessant drumming every night disturbs her peace of mind. But Frida has always loved playing basketball, yet Simon repeatedly deliberately induces her to foul, creating shooting opportunities for himself. And every shot, Simon must precisely calculate the basket size, ball speed, and shooting angle, just to ensure each shot hits the target. What she finds even more unbearable is that Simon also long-term monopolizes the TV and forcefully pulls Frida and Sam to watch his favorite, but most disliked, science fiction movies. Initially, Frida could barely endure for Sam's sake until one time Simon, due to no toilet paper, barged directly into their intimate moment. Fed up, Frida decided to leave that night. Although Sam initially tried hard to persuade her to stay, when faced with the choice between his partner and his brother, he ultimately chose the latter. Because, as the only person he trusts as his brother, Sam cannot abandon his brother. After Frida left, Sam fell into sadness and Simon retreated again into the metal bucket. However, he was not moved by Sam's heartbreak nor regretful for unintentionally driving Frida away, but worried that no one would wash the dishes after Frida left. But he quickly thought of a solution. Since she has left, just invite her back. So he urged Sam to go and find Frida immediately. But Sam knew very well that Frida's mind was made up this time, so he hesitated to act. Helplessly, Simon had to go personally today. As soon as they met, Simon said to Frida, "Although she's not doing well enough, could you please come back?" As a result, Frida refused on the spot. Simon, who returned empty-handed, almost collapsed. He couldn't understand why people's hearts were so complicated, always insincere and ambiguous about right and wrong. Simon has never intended to guess others' emotions, only focusing on solving the immediate problems. Since Frida was unwilling to return, he decided to find another substitute. Thus, the balance was restored, and Sam no longer had to be distracted all day. In this way, Simon embarked on the path of choosing a wife for his brother. He first took the usual camera from his parents' house by bus, then listed 13 questions about Sam's preferences. Next, he went to the street and asked each eligible woman, "Can you wash dishes? Do you prefer cats or dogs? Do you like love movies or sci-fi movies? Do you make sounds when doing the most private things as a human? Do you prefer trains or buses? Do you like ketchup or mustard? Do you prefer licorice or fruit candies? Do you have a good impression of Simon? Are you willing to seek your true love using scientific methods?" Despite many confusing questions and despite facing many cold looks, Simon persisted and finally compiled a thick roster of names. However, after reading it, Sam said, "There are no standard answers in love. It's more about feelings. Also, two completely identical people are often incompatible, just like magnets. Like poles repel, unlike poles attract." Hearing this, Simon seemed to realize something, but then took another extreme, trying to find someone completely opposite to Sam using these 13 questions. He was so stubborn and dogmatic because, in his linear thinking, everything could be replaced equally, and feelings were just a questionnaire with check marks and crosses. After changing to a new algorithm, a person immediately appeared in Simon's mind, the blonde girl Jennifer, who often met him at the corner at 8:55. Their first encounter was not actually pleasant. They were both in a hurry and accidentally bumped into each other. Simon, who disliked being touched, immediately waved and slapped her. However, Jennifer did not get angry. She just covered her face and asked in surprise, "Why did you suddenly hit me?" After learning that Simon had autism, she even felt a bit apologetic. But Simon did not accept Jennifer's apology. Since then, they often met at the same time and place, but they never bumped into each other again. Until Simon conducted a preference survey on the street, and the first person he asked was Jennifer. At that time, because every answer Jennifer gave just happened to avoid the correct answer, Simon immediately removed her from the candidate list. However, now Jennifer had become the most suitable person. So, that day, Simon took the initiative, waiting at the street corner in advance, planning to create an accidental encounter. Unexpectedly, Jennifer was 2 seconds late, causing him to collide with another man. When Jennifer finally arrived late and inquired about Simon's condition, he frankly said, "It's all her fault. If she hadn't been late, she should have been the one to get hit." Jennifer couldn't help but laugh and said, "Actually, you don't necessarily have to collide to start a conversation." But clearly, Simon didn't understand the deeper meaning and instead suggested to Jennifer whether she was willing to meet Sam. He emphasized that Sam's preferences were completely different from Jennifer's, yet firmly believed that the two could become the most compatible partners. Faced with this sudden matchmaking, Jennifer's already foggy mind, due to a hangover, became even more muddled. She and Simon had only met 3 times, not even knowing each other's names, and now she was being pushed into the role of sister-in-law. Such a sudden move was bound to leave anyone stunned. However, Simon seemed oblivious to this and was only eager to get her positive response. Although Jennifer had always been easygoing, she found it hard to agree readily at this moment. Just then, Simon's alarm clock rang. He had to rush to a part-time job, since she hadn't yet responded to him, and after obtaining her consent, Simon decided to take her with him to the workplace. This way, as soon as Jennifer made a decision, he would know the result immediately. Because Simon disliked interacting with people, he chose a job picking up trash in the park. Although the pay was not high, it was a 9-to-5 job, only 5 days a week, with an hour lunch break each day. His colleagues and direct supervisor were all autistic patients, with varying degrees of symptoms. When the supervisor saw a stranger, he was first stunned for a moment, then drew his own conclusion. "Are you Simon's guardian?" Jennifer also went along with it, too lazy to explain further. But what she didn't expect was that the trash-picking job was so dull. Before long, she was slumped on a bench, almost falling asleep. Approaching noon, Jennifer only wanted to eat, but Simon strictly kept to the schedule, saying it was not yet time. Jennifer knew he was rule-abiding but didn't want to go hungry anymore, so she forcibly took his watch and set the time to mealtime. However, the meal was also unpleasant. Simon kept reciting physics formulas into Jennifer's ear. Although Jennifer wore headphones, she still couldn't block out those boring technical terms, and even her food seemed to lose its flavor. Helpless, she took off the headphones and casually shared one with Simon. She hoped Simon could temporarily put aside rational thinking and feel the gentle beauty of the world through music. Simon wiped his headphones with a hint of disdain, but ultimately, out of curiosity, he put them on. In an instant, the straight sine wave in his mind seemed to suddenly transform into layers of leaping waves. Colors he had previously ignored also suddenly burst forth with unprecedented vitality. However, just as Simon was immersed in this brand new world, the equally excited Jennifer accidentally touched his arm, resulting in her being pushed to the ground in the next second. Despite being told multiple times that physical contact was not allowed, Jennifer always forgot, to the extent that she was pushed away several times in one day, and once even fell into the river. That time, because Jennifer's clothes were soaked by water, Simon broke his usual rule for the first time, leaving work early to go home with her. Looking at the cluttered room with nowhere to step, Simon straightforwardly asked Jennifer why her house was so messy. Jennifer explained that it was not chaos, only an excess of belongings. After saying this, Jennifer changed into an outfit with red and blue colors, knowing that Simon particularly favored these two colors. At that moment, the doorbell suddenly rang. Turns out it was Jennifer's friend visiting. Because the few girls were all very outgoing, the room quickly became lively. Initially, Simon, who disliked chaos, stood alone in the corner with a look of disdain, but unconsciously, he also joined the conversation among everyone. Suddenly, the scene became more harmonious and pleasant, until Jennifer received a phone call, and the atmosphere suddenly cooled. Turns out she had just experienced a breakup. Simon was puzzled, wondering how someone could shift from happiness to sadness in an instant. Knowing that he loved circles, Jennifer used a circle as a metaphor to explain human emotional changes. Emotions are like a closed circle. If you consider the top as the peak of sadness, moving clockwise downward represents the gradual easing of sadness. When it reaches the lowest point, sadness turns into happiness. Moving upward again, joy gradually accumulates until reaching the peak. However, once crossing the peak, it is very easy to slip into the boundary of sadness again, and thus happiness turns back into sorrow. Hearing this, Simon suddenly remembered Sam. Because Sam, like Jennifer, always knew how to answer his doubts appropriately. This also made him increasingly feel that Jennifer and Sam were truly a perfect match. And at this moment, the disappointed Jennifer also needed a new relationship to soothe her wounds. So under Simon's repeated plea, she agreed to meet Sam first. Satisfied with the answer, Simon immediately got up and rushed home, eager to share this good news with Sam. However, when he excitedly stepped into his house, he was met with a reprimand from Sam. It turned out that shortly after Simon left his post without permission, his boss called and informed Sam. Due to Simon having autism, he had never gone out alone before. Sam was very worried that he might encounter danger outside alone, so he immediately put down his work and went out to look for him. Sam first went to Simon's workplace, hoping to gather clues from colleagues, but was ignored and even mistaken for a criminal and pushed to the ground. He then tried to report the case at the police station, but the police had no time to care about someone missing for less than 12 hours. Thus, Sam rode his motorcycle anxiously searching the streets all day until nightfall, when he returned home dejectedly. Unaware of all this, Simon was still immersed in his own plans. Not only did Simon ignore Sam's concern, but he also insisted that Sam go on a date, which caused an already angry Sam to completely explode. Sam sternly reproached Simon because his behavior that day deeply worried him. Simon has autism, which made it even harder for Sam to relax. Sam had already lost his girlfriend and the happiness he should have had. How much more would he lose in the future because of Simon? How much pain would he have to bear for his brother's life? Watching Sam's emotions gradually spiral out of control, Simon also broke down and shouted. But no matter how he called out, Sam, after venting his emotions, slammed the door and left heavily. Simon once again hid inside that metal barrel. However, after a whole night of thinking, Simon seemed to have found an explanation within his own logic. Sam and Jennifer are like two poles of a magnet, fundamentally opposite, so one desires a date while the other strongly rejects it. But as long as there is a chance for them to get close, they will inevitably be strongly attracted to each other. After understanding this, Simon resumed his matchmaking plan. Simon sold his most beloved drum set, using the money as startup capital for the project. Then he rented a series of romantic movies from a video store, watched them carefully at home to learn love techniques. After extracting the essence, he began to imitate and implement step by step. First, he found a bus driver and asked him to act as the chef for the candlelight dinner. Next, he recruited 3 colleagues who were not very quick-witted to play supporting roles to enhance the effect. Once everything was ready, Simon informed the 2 main characters to go to the designated place for the date. Although the female lead Jennifer agreed to the invitation, the still angry Sam outright refused. Helpless, Simon had no choice but to send someone to forcibly bring Sam to the scene and place him on Jennifer's route. Thus, the male and female leads accidentally met in a dramatic way. However, Sam was dragged in a bag and brought there, and when released, he was furious. But since Jennifer was already there, out of politeness, Sam could only force himself to chat with her for a few words. However, the 2 forced together had no idea what to talk about, and the atmosphere was so awkward it seemed like sweat could freeze. But in Simon's dictionary, the word embarrassment has never existed. He then signaled to his companions to begin action. First, the violinist appeared and played a romantic prelude. Subsequently, a bouquet of roses sent in Sam's name was handed to Jennifer by a colleague. Then, guided by the chef, the 2 stepped over the grass, along the candlelight, into a carefully arranged dinner setting. Faced with exquisite dishes and a tranquil atmosphere, Jennifer appeared both surprised and moved. However, Sam still looked downcast, as he had no desire for romance at that moment and was worried that Jennifer might develop feelings for him. Jennifer then explained that she agreed to go on a date with Sam out of her affection for Simon. She said that if such arrangements could make Sam happy, it would fulfill Simon's wish. At first, Sam didn't believe it because, all along, apart from himself, it seemed no one liked Simon, who had autism. Sam always thought Simon lived in his own world, neither good at proactively caring for others nor understanding how to express emotions. But Jennifer pointed out that Sam did not truly understand Simon. If Simon didn't care about him, why would he go to such lengths and arrange this date so clumsily? This statement enlightened Sam. He finally understood Simon's good intentions and realized how important he was in Simon's heart. Sam appreciated Jennifer's insight, and the awkwardness between them dissipated, making their conversation more relaxed and natural. Meanwhile, Simon, watching all this from a distance, felt a sense of relief, as if he had completed an important mission. At the same time, he seemed to have, for the first time, a vague sense of what people often call love. Just then, Sam approached Simon and said, "Jennifer has already left. We can be good friends, but there's no possibility of us being lovers." This was originally just an ordinary statement, but unexpectedly, Simon suddenly lost control after hearing it. He shouted Jennifer's name hoarsely and frantically searched for her figure everywhere. Simon didn't understand where this fear of losing came from. He only felt that the world around him seemed about to collapse, and only hiding in that familiar metal barrel could give him a sense of security. Terrified, he ran back home without looking back. Sam wanted to use their unique way of communication to coax Simon out of the barrel, but Simon refused to come out no matter what. Helpless, Sam calmly asked Simon why he insisted on having himself and Jennifer together. Unexpectedly, Simon whispered, "Because he doesn't want Jennifer to leave. Someone as good as his brother. If Jennifer doesn't like him, then Jennifer must dislike him. After all, he's 937 times worse than Sam." Hearing these words, Sam finally couldn't help but laugh. Everyone in the world understands the meaning of this sentence. Only Simon remains in the dark. However, Sam did not reveal the truth because, while Simon was still rambling about he doesn't want Jennifer to leave, Jennifer was already standing aside smiling. It turns out Jennifer had never left. She was quietly watching Simon's reaction from the shadows. However, after learning that Jennifer was present, Simon, who had opened the lid and taken a quick glance, suddenly shrank back like a startled mouse, refusing to show himself no matter how Jennifer tried to comfort him. Helpless, Jennifer had to personally lift the lid. Unexpectedly, this time Simon not only did not panic, but instead gazed at Jennifer like a little deer, his eyes fixed and unmoving. Even when Jennifer gently touched his hand, he was completely unaware and did not flinch, because in the days they spent together, his heart had long been fully open to Jennifer, and the key to opening this door of the heart was the emotion called love.